Anita was a quiet and humble girl. She went to a well-known school in the middle of a big, busy city in Africa. She lived with her grandmother in a small house far from the city. Every morning, Anita rode her old bicycle to school. Her books were packed neatly in a worn-out backpack. While other students arrived in shiny cars, Anita's bicycle made her the target of cruel jokes. In her class, there was a girl named Jessica. Jessica was loud and bold. She always bragged about being the daughter of a very rich man. Her father's name was known everywhere in the city, and Jessica never missed a chance to talk about it. She showed off her expensive clothes and fancy lifestyle, making sure everyone noticed her. Jessica didn't like Anita. Something about Anita's quiet nature and simple looks annoyed her. Every morning, when Anita parked her bicycle, Jessica would shout, "Oh look, the charity case is here on her old two-wheeler. Anita, have you even seen what a car looks like?" The other students would laugh loudly, and Anita would quietly walk away, her head down. Anita tried her best to ignore Jessica. She focused on her studies and never said a word back. But Jessica didn't stop. She wanted to embarrass Anita even more. One day, during lunch, Jessica did something truly mean. She climbed onto a table in the cafeteria and yelled, "Hey everyone, did you know Anita is probably saving money to buy a new tire for her bicycle? Maybe we should all give her some coins to help her out." The cafeteria erupted in laughter. Anita, holding back her tears, walked out of the room quietly. She went to her favorite spot under the big baobab tree behind the school. There she sat and looked up at the sky, her heart heavy with sadness. She thought about her parents, who had died years ago, leaving her in the care of her grandmother. But there was something about Anita that nobody else knew, a secret she kept close to her heart. Her grandmother often told her, "My child, money does not make you rich. What matters is your kind heart, your wisdom, and your goodness. Let them laugh now, but one day the truth will shine like the sun." The days passed, and Jessica's bullying got worse, but Anita stayed focused. She worked hard and got the best grades in class. During school assemblies, Anita often received awards for her excellent performance. This made Jessica angry. She couldn't understand how someone like Anita could shine so brightly. One morning, as Anita parked her bicycle, Jessica walked up to her with a sly smile. Her expensive bag swung on her shoulder as she looked Anita up and down. She spoke loudly so that everyone could hear. "I've been wondering how you got into this school, Anita. This is a school for kids from rich families, not charity cases like you." Anita didn't say a word. She held onto her bicycle tightly, her knuckles white. Jessica laughed and continued, "Unless—" She paused and looked around dramatically. "Unless you did something, inappropriate to get in here. Maybe some rich man helped you out. Is that it?" The students around them gasped. Some looked at Anita with pity, while others seemed curious to hear her response. Anita's cheeks burned with shame, but she stayed quiet. She didn't want to give Jessica the satisfaction of seeing her cry. Jessica took a step closer, her voice dripping with mockery. "Tell us, Anita, did you beg some man on your knees for the money? Or did you do something worse?" The students burst into laughter. Jessica's friends cheered her on, their voices echoing in the schoolyard. Anita felt her chest tighten. She thought of her grandmother's words about staying strong, but the pain from Jessica's words was unbearable. Her fists clenched, and her eyes stayed glued to the ground. Jessica leaned in even closer, her voice turning cold and sharp. "Why don't you just admit it? You don't belong here, Anita. Someone like you could never fit in." Jessica's words hung in the air like a heavy cloud. The laughter around Anita grew louder, but deep inside her, something stirred. Though she didn't say a word, there was a strength in her silence, an unshakable determination that even Jessica couldn't crush. One sunny morning, Jessica arrived at school in a shiny black car, just as she always did. She stepped out of the car, her designer bag slung over her shoulder and her head held high, as if she owned the world. The car didn't speed off immediately. The driver, an older man with a grey beard and gold-rimmed glasses, leaned out of the window and said, "Make sure you call me later, my dear." His voice was smooth, but carried a tone that made Anita, who had been parking her bicycle nearby, freeze in her tracks. Jessica turned and smiled at the man, waving her perfectly manicured hand. "Don't worry, darling," she said sweetly. "I will call you." Anita's eyes widened. She couldn't believe what she had just witnessed. For weeks, Jessica had tormented her, accusing her of sleeping with old men. Yet here she was, openly flirting with a man old enough to be her father. Anita didn't say anything then. She simply locked her bicycle and went to class, her mind swirling with thoughts. Later that day, Jessica, as usual, found Anita near the bicycle rack. She smirked, her loud voice drawing attention from nearby students. "Oh look, it's the charity case again with her dusty, rusty old bicycle. Tell me, Anita, are you still saving up for that new tire? Or did you finally find a man to sponsor you?" The students nearby laughed, as always, feeding off Jessica's energy. Anita clenched her fists, feeling her blood boil. She had been silent for too long, but not today. She turned to face Jessica, her voice steady and loud enough for everyone to hear. "You have the nerve to stand here and accuse me of sleeping with men for money, Jessica," Anita began, her words sharp like a blade. "But it's funny, because that's exactly what you do. I saw the old man who dropped you off this morning. Your sugar daddy. Isn't he the one funding your so-called rich lifestyle?" The laughter around them stopped immediately. Jessica's smirk disappeared, replaced by shock and anger. "What are you talking about?" she stammered, trying to maintain her composure. "You don't know what you're saying, Anita." "Oh, I know exactly what I'm saying," Anita shot back, her voice growing bolder. "You walk around here, calling me dirty and poor, but at least I don't sell myself to old men to buy designer bags and shoes. You're the real disgrace, Jessica, a dull-brained, foolish and classless girl who has nothing to offer except her body." The crowd gasped. Jessica's face turned red with embarrassment and rage. She tried to retaliate, her voice trembling. "At least I have money, Anita. I use my money to look good, unlike you, a dirty girl with her dusty bicycle. You're nothing but a loser." Anita laughed bitterly, shaking her head. "Your so-called money, it's not even yours. You claim to be a billionaire's daughter, but I know the truth. Your parents are poor, Jessica. You're just a liar pretending to be what you're not. One day, the truth will come out, and you'll be exposed for who you really are." The students around them whispered to one another, some staring at Jessica with wide eyes. Jessica's fists tightened at her sides, her lips trembling as she struggled to come up with a response. "You don't know anything about me," she hissed, her voice low. "Oh, I know enough," Anita replied calmly. "And let me tell you something else, Jessica. I will never ever do what you do for money. I may have a dusty bicycle, but I still have my dignity. You can laugh all you want, but I'm proud of who I am. You are nothing but a fake." Jessica couldn't take it anymore. She turned on her heel and stormed off, her face burning with shame. The students who had gathered watched her leave, their laughter now replaced with murmurs of disbelief. For the first time, Jessica had been defeated, and Anita's words hung in the air like a heavy storm cloud. As Anita turned back to her bicycle, she felt a strange sense of relief. She had finally stood up for herself, and though Jessica's words had hurt her in the past, Anita knew she was stronger now. She wiped her hands on her faded skirt, mounted her trusty bicycle, and rode off with her head held high, leaving the crowd behind. Jessica sat on the edge of her pink plush bed in her lavishly decorated room. Her phone was pressed tightly to her ear, and tears threatened to spill from her eyes. She was on a call with Sylvester, her ex-boyfriend, a tall, handsome, and wealthy young man who had been the envy of many girls in school. Sylvester had everything: good looks, money, and charm, and Jessica had always flaunted him like a trophy. "Sylvester, please," Jessica begged, her voice shaking. "I'm sorry, I've changed. I don't see the sugar daddy anymore. I swear, please take me back. I miss you. I miss us." But Sylvester wasn't moved. On the other end of the line, his voice was cold and firm. "Jessica, I'm done with you," he said. "I gave you too many chances, and you kept proving that you can't be trusted. I'm tired of your lies, your games, and your lifestyle. I deserve better than this." Jessica's chest tightened as she gripped the phone harder. "Sylvester, it's not what you think. I promise I'm different now. I won't mess up again. Just give me one more chance." Sylvester let out a bitter laugh. "Different? Jessica, you've said that before, but the truth is you'll never change. One man is never enough for you. You're always chasing the next flashy thing. I'm done, Jessica. Don't call me again." Before she could reply, the call ended. The harsh sound of the disconnect tone rang in her ears. Jessica stared at the phone in disbelief, her hands trembling. Sylvester, the one boy who had truly cared for her, was gone. He was done with her. Jessica threw the phone onto the bed and screamed in frustration. Her tears finally spilled over, streaking her perfectly made-up face. For a moment, she sat there, broken and defeated. She had always thought Sylvester would never leave her, no matter what. But now he had. And worse, he had done so with no sign of regret. She stood up and began pacing the room, her anger replacing her sadness. "So what if Sylvester is gone?" she said to herself, her voice loud and defiant. "I don't need him. I don't need any man to dictate my life. Let him go to hell." The next day at school, everything seemed normal. Jessica was in her usual spot, surrounded by her friends, bragging about her expensive lifestyle. But soon, something unexpected happened. A poor-looking woman walked into the school compound, her clothes worn and faded, carrying a small bag. The security guard stopped her and asked what she wanted. "I'm looking for my daughter, Jessica," the woman said, her voice soft but determined. The guard raised an eyebrow. "Jessica, are you sure you're talking about the right person?" "Yes, I am. Jessica is my daughter," the woman insisted. The guard, still unsure, allowed her to wait while someone went to call Jessica. When Jessica arrived and saw the woman standing there, she froze for a moment. Her friends, curious about what was happening, followed her. The woman smiled when she saw Jessica. "My daughter, I've missed you so much." Jessica's expression changed immediately. She looked at the woman with disgust. "Who are you?" she said loudly, drawing attention from others. "I don't know you." The woman's smile faded. "Jessica, it's me, your mother. I came all the way from the village to see you. Your father and I haven't heard from you in so long. Why are you talking like this?" Jessica stepped back, her voice rising. My mother can never look like you. You're dirty, ugly and poor. Don't ever call yourself my mother. Do you know who I am? I'm the daughter of a billionaire. My mother is a classy, rich woman, not someone like you." The woman's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't believe the words coming from her daughter's mouth. "Jessica, how can you say such things? I am your mother. Your father and I have worked so hard to send you to school. We've sacrificed everything for you." Jessica waved her hand dismissively. "I don't care what you and your so-called husband did. Don't come to this school again, do you hear me? You're embarrassing me. Leave and don't ever show your face here." The woman stood there, stunned and heartbroken. Slowly she turned and began walking out of the school compound, tears streaming down her face. As she reached the gate, she bumped into Anita, who was parking her bicycle. "Mama, why are you crying?" Anita asked kindly. The woman wiped her tears and tried to smile, but her voice trembled as she replied, "It's nothing, my child. Just something that pains my heart." Anita gently urged her to sit on a nearby bench. "Mama, tell me what happened. Maybe I can help." The woman hesitated, but Anita's kindness encouraged her to speak. "I came here to see my daughter, Jessica. She is my only child. But she denied me in front of everyone. She insulted me and said I am not her mother. She told me never to come here again." Anita's eyes widened in shock. "Jessica? You mean Jessica in my class? She said you're not her mother." "Yes," the woman replied, "Jessica is my daughter. My husband and I are poor farmers in the village. We sent her to this school with the little money we had. But since she came to the city, she has changed. She stopped coming to the village. She told us she's a big girl now and doesn't need us anymore. She has abandoned us." Anita's heart burned with anger. "Mama, I knew that girl was living a fake life. She walks around bragging that her father is a billionaire and that she has everything. But all this time, she has been lying to everyone." The woman shook her head sadly. "I have warned her to stop living like this, but she doesn't listen. She only cares about pretending to be rich. Meanwhile, her father and I are suffering in the village, struggling to make ends meet." Anita sighed and said, "Mama, Jessica has been bullying me in school. She makes fun of me because I ride a bicycle and come from a humble background. She calls me names and says I don't belong here. But now I see that she is the one living a lie. The woman's tears fell again. I'm so sorry for what my daughter has done to you. She has brought shame to our family. Please forgive her, my child. Anita smiled gently. It's nothing, Mama. Don't worry about me. I've learned to ignore her insults. But Mama, do you have money for transport back to the village? The woman lowered her head. No, my child. I spent the last of my money coming here. I don't even know how I will get back home. Anita opened her faded backpack and pulled out the little money she had saved. Take this, Mama. It's not much, but it will help you get back home. Don't worry, I'll come and visit you in the village one day. The woman looked at the money and then at Anita, her eyes filled with gratitude. Thank you, my daughter. May God bless you. You have a good heart. You will be great in life, I know it. Never change and never be like my foolish daughter. Anita smiled, feeling a warmth in her heart. She watched as the woman walked away, her steps slow but a bit lighter. Though the encounter had been painful, Anita knew she had done the right thing. The next day at school, Anita saw Jessica standing with her friends again. They were laughing loudly, as though nothing had happened. But Anita couldn't hold back this time. She walked straight to Jessica and spoke, her voice cutting through the noise. Jessica, you must be very bold to walk around here as if nothing happened, Anita said. After what you did to your own mother yesterday, you still have the nerve to stand here and act like a queen. Jessica stopped laughing and turned to Anita, her tone dismissive. What are you talking about? And why are you even talking to me? Go mind your business and focus on your little bicycle. Anita's voice rose and a crowd began to form around them. Don't play dumb, Jessica. Your mother came all the way from the village to see you, and instead of welcoming her, you insulted her. You denied her in front of everyone and called her names. Your own mother, the same woman who worked hard to pay your school fees when you had nothing. You are an ungrateful child, Jessica. Jessica's friends looked at her, whispering among themselves, but Jessica pretended not to care. Anita, you don't know what you're talking about. Whatever happens between me and that poor, ugly woman is none of your concern. Go back to your dusty bicycle and stop interfering in my life. Anita refused to back down. None of my concern? After all the times you bullied me and insulted me. Jessica, let me tell you something. At least I have the decency to appreciate what I have. I might not have much, but I'm not living a lie like you. You walk around pretending to be the daughter of a billionaire, but you're nothing but a liar and a disgrace. You have no respect for the people who gave everything to make you who you are today. Jessica's face hardened, but she tried to laugh it off. Anita, say whatever you want. At the end of the day, I'm still better than you. Look at me. I wear designer clothes, I live in a big house, and I have a better life than you'll ever have. Anita laughed sharply. Better than me? Jessica, let me tell you what better means. Better means having a good heart, showing respect, and being grateful. All the designer clothes in the world can't hide the fact that you are selfish, foolish, and classless. You think your lies make you better than me. Deep down, even you know that's not true. Jessica's voice grew cold. Anita, I've told you to mind your business. You don't know me, and you don't know what I've been through. So stop acting like you're better than me. Anita didn't back down. You're right, Jessica. I don't know you, but I know your mother. I spoke to her yesterday after you sent her away in tears. She told me everything, how she and your father worked hard in the village to send you to school, how they sacrificed so much for you, and how you abandoned them because you think you're too big now. Do you know what she said to me before she left? She prayed for me. She said I have a good heart and that I will be great in life. Something you'll never have as long as you keep living this way. Jessica's friends gasped and the crowd began to murmur. Jessica's voice wavered, but she tried to sound confident. Just because my mother talked to you doesn't mean you know me. You don't understand my life, Anita. So keep your opinions to yourself. Anita shook her head. It's not about understanding your life, Jessica. It's about knowing right from wrong. What you did to your mother was wrong, and deep down, you know it. But don't worry. One day, your lies will catch up to you. And when that happens, don't expect anyone to feel sorry for you. Jessica didn't know how to respond. Her friends stared at her, waiting for her to say something, but she couldn't find the words. Finally, she turned and walked away, leaving the crowd behind. As Anita headed back to her bicycle, the students around her began to whisper. For the first time, Jessica's reputation was crumbling, and Anita's strength and honesty were shining through. Anita felt a mix of emotions, relief for standing up for herself and sadness for the woman who had been hurt by her own child. Anita arrived home after a long, tiring day at school. She called out, "Grandma, I'm back." But there was no response. She dropped her bag and walked to the small bedroom, only to find her grandmother lying on the bed, breathing heavily. "Grandma, what's wrong?" Anita asked, her voice shaking. She quickly ran to her side, but her grandmother was too weak to answer. Without wasting time, Anita borrowed a neighbor's wheelbarrow and gently placed her grandmother inside. She rushed her to the nearest hospital, her heart pounding with fear. At the hospital, the doctor checked her grandmother and said she needed to rest. Anita sat by the bed, holding her grandmother's hand. "Grandma, please don't scare me like this. You'll be fine, right?" Anita said, her voice trembling. Her grandmother opened her eyes slowly and looked at Anita. "Anita, my child, I have something to tell you," she said weakly. "What is it, Grandma?" Anita asked, her heart heavy with worry. Her grandmother hesitated, tears forming in her eyes. "It's something I should have told you a long time ago. I've carried this secret for years and I can't keep it anymore." Anita's chest tightened. "Grandma, what are you talking about? Please tell me." Her grandmother sighed deeply. "Anita, I'm not your real grandmother." Anita froze. She thought she had heard wrong. "What do you mean? Grandma, what are you saying?" Her grandmother's voice broke as she continued, "I'm not your biological grandmother, Anita. And I lied to you. Your parents didn't die in a ghastly accident like I told you. The truth is, I stole you." Anita's eyes widened in shock. "What? You stole me? Grandma, this can't be true." Tears streamed down her grandmother's face. "It's true, my child. Many years ago, I was working at a hospital as a cleaner. One night, a teenage girl gave birth to a baby, a beautiful baby girl. But she was scared and crying because she didn't know how to take care of you. I felt pity for her, but I was also desperate. I had just lost my own daughter and I was broken. So, I took you." Anita's hands began to shake. "Grandma, you're saying I'm not your granddaughter? That I don't belong to you?" Her grandmother nodded, her voice barely a whisper. "You were only a week old. I raised you as my own because I loved you. But now I know it was wrong. I stole you from your real mother, and I never even found out where she went after that." Anita's heart shattered into pieces. She stood up, her tears falling freely. "Grandma, how could you do this? How could you lie to me all these years? You told me my parents died. You made me believe you were all I had." Her grandmother sobbed. "I'm so sorry, Anita. I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want you to feel abandoned. I thought I was giving you a better life." Anita felt anger, sadness, and confusion all at once. "Where are my real parents now?" she demanded. "Where is my mother?" Her grandmother shook her head. "I don't know, my child. After I took you, the girl disappeared. I never saw her again. I have no idea where she is now." Anita dropped to her knees, her body shaking with sobs. She felt like her whole life had been a lie. The woman she had loved and trusted was not her real grandmother. Her real mother was out there somewhere, and she had no way of finding her. "Why, Grandma?" Anita cried. "Why did you do this? You've ruined everything." "I'm so sorry, Anita," her grandmother said, her voice weak. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but please believe me when I say I loved you with all my heart." Anita couldn't respond. Her mind was spinning. She felt like the ground beneath her had disappeared. She cried until her eyes hurt, wondering what her real mother looked like, where she was, and why she had been taken from her. As Anita sat there, lost in her pain, she made a silent vow. No matter how hard it would be, she would find out the truth about her parents. Just then, the doctor came into the room and asked Anita to come to his office. Anita followed him, her heart beating fast. When they got to the office, the doctor said, "Anita, I'm so sorry to tell you this, but your grandmother is in the last stage of cancer. She has less than a month to live." Anita's eyes filled with tears. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. "Doctor, how is this possible? Why didn't we know earlier?" she asked, her voice shaking. The doctor replied, I'm sorry, Anita. If it had been discovered earlier, something could have been done. But now it's too late. I'm so sorry." Anita left the office with a heavy heart, crying as she walked home to get a few things for her grandmother. She walked along the road, her mind filled with sadness and confusion. Suddenly, a very luxurious car parked beside her. A young man stepped out and walked towards her. "Hello," he said gently. "I noticed you were crying. Are you okay? What's wrong?" Anita quickly wiped her face and said, "I'm fine." But the young man wasn't convinced. "You don't look fine. Please, tell me what's wrong. Maybe I can help," he said, introducing himself. "My name is Sylvester, but my friends call me Sly." Anita hesitated, but she finally said, "It's my grandmother. She's very sick, and the doctor said she doesn't have much time left." Sylvester's face softened. "I'm so sorry to hear that. That must be really hard for you." Anita nodded. "It is, but I'll manage. Thank you for asking." Sylvester smiled and said, "Let's be friends. You're really beautiful, I swear. I've never seen anyone as beautiful as you." Anita felt shy but said, "Thank you. I appreciate your kindness. I need to go now." Sylvester offered her a ride, and after some hesitation, Anita agreed. He dropped her off near her house and told her, "If you ever need anything, just let me know." Anita thanked him and went inside, trying to hold back her tears. 5 days later, Anita's grandmother passed away peacefully in her sleep. The pain was too much for Anita to bear, but Sylvester was there for her. He stayed by her side throughout the burial, offering her comfort and support. Anita felt grateful to have someone who cared for her during such a difficult time. The next day, Anita got to school, trying her best to focus on her classes. It had only been a few days since her grandmother's burial, and her heart was still heavy. As she walked into the school compound, Jessica was standing with her usual group of friends. When she saw Anita, she smiled and called out loudly, "Look who's here! Poor Anita! You look miserable. Oh wait, your poor grandmother is dead." "What a foolish thing," Jessica said, laughing loudly, making sure everyone around could hear her cruel words. The students nearby started whispering and giggling, some even laughing along with Jessica. Anita felt the sting of the insult, but she held her head high, refusing to let Jessica see her cry. As Anita was about to reply, her phone rang. She picked it up and saw Sylvester's name on the screen. A small smile crept onto her face as she answered the call. "Sly, hi," Anita said softly. "Hey Anita, how are you holding up today?" Sylvester's warm voice came through the phone. "I'm managing," Anita replied. They talked for a few moments, and before Anita hung up, she said, "I love you too." Jessica, who had been watching the whole time, burst out laughing. "Oh, look at this bicycle girl. She's in love," Jessica said mockingly, clapping her hands for effect. "I bet the boy who called you is just as poor as you are. Maybe he rides a bicycle too. Or worse, maybe he walks everywhere." Jessica's friends laughed along with her, and she continued, "Anita, let me tell you something. You think you're more beautiful than me? You're not. You're lying to yourself. I'm too classy and beautiful to even be compared to you. Whoever this so-called boyfriend of yours is, I know he must be very poor." Anita smiled calmly before speaking. "Jessica, if you see this handsome man that just called me, I promise you, you will fall for him instantly. He's not like the men you chase after, your sugar daddies with their big pot bellies and their old wrinkled faces." The students around them gasped, and Jessica's laughter stopped abruptly. She narrowed her eyes at Anita. "What did you just say?" "You heard me," Anita said, her voice steady. "My boyfriend is young, handsome, and kind. He doesn't have to pay me to spend time with him. He's not like the men you run after, Jessica. You think you're classy, but you're just a girl with no shame, living off old men's money." Jessica's face turned red with anger. "How dare you talk to me like that?" she shouted. "I am better than you in every way, Anita. Don't forget your place." Anita shook her head. "Better than me? Jessica, you're nothing but a bully and a liar. You call me poor, but at least I have dignity. You insult me for riding a bicycle, but at least I'm not selling my soul for designer bags and shoes." Jessica's friends stood silently, unsure of what to do. Some of the students in the crowd began to whisper among themselves, agreeing with Anita. For the first time, Jessica didn't have a quick comeback. Anita turned to leave but stopped and added, "You can laugh all you want, Jessica, but deep down you know the truth. My life may not be perfect, but at least it's real. Can you say the same about yours?" Jessica was furious, but she couldn't find the words to respond. Anita walked away, leaving the crowd behind. As she headed to class, she couldn't help but feel a small sense of victory. The next day, as Anita arrived at school, Sylvester dropped her off at the gate in his luxury car. Some students stared in surprise, murmuring among themselves. It wasn't every day that a car like that pulled up at their school. Sylvester smiled at Anita as she got out and said, "Have a good day, Anita. I'll call you later." Anita thanked him and walked into the school, unaware of the storm that was about to brew. Inside the classroom, Jessica sat with her group of friends as usual. They were chatting when one of her friends ran in excitedly. "Jessica, guess who I just saw outside the school gate?" the girl said, looking excited. Jessica looked up lazily. "Who?" The girl leaned closer and said, "I saw Sylvester. He dropped Anita off in his car." Jessica froze. "What? My Sly? No way." Her friend shrugged. "Yes, I saw it with my own eyes. He was smiling at her and everything." Jessica's blood boiled. "Are you sure about what you're saying? Sylvester dropped Anita, that bicycle girl." Her friend nodded. "Yes, but does it really matter? He's your ex, Jessica. You two broke up a long time ago." Jessica slammed her hand on the desk. "How dare you say that? I still love him. He's mine and we'll get back together. Anita has no right to go near him." Jessica's friend stepped back, startled. "But Jessica, you and Sylvester are not together anymore. Why are you so worked up?" Jessica stood up angrily, ignoring her friend. "You don't understand anything. I'm going to teach Anita a lesson she'll never forget." She stormed out of the class, heading straight for Anita. Anita was sitting quietly in the schoolyard, relaxing under a tree, when Jessica marched up to her, her voice loud and full of anger. "You shameless boyfriend snatcher," Jessica shouted. "How dare you go after Sylvester? He's my boyfriend." Anita looked up, confused. "What are you talking about, Jessica? Sylvester is your boyfriend. Since when?" Jessica crossed her arms. "Since forever. We've been together for years. And now you think you can steal him from me? Let me tell you, Anita, you're nothing but a poor little girl riding your bicycle. You don't deserve someone like him." Anita stood up, her confusion turning to frustration. "Jessica, I don't know what you're talking about. Sylvester has never mentioned you to me. And why are you coming to me with all this nonsense?" Jessica pointed a finger at her. "Don't act innocent, Anita. I saw him with you, and my friend told me he dropped you off. You think you're better than me, but you're not. You're just a low-class girl trying to take what doesn't belong to you." Anita tried to remain calm. "Jessica, Sylvester and I are just friends, and I don't know about whatever relationship you had with him. But you have no right to come here and insult me." Jessica laughed mockingly. "Friends? Is that what you're calling it now? You're a thief, Anita, a boyfriend thief. You're nothing but a dirty, miserable girl pretending to be something you're not." Anita had heard enough. Her anger boiled over, and without saying another word, she grabbed Jessica and gave her a slap that echoed across the yard. The students nearby turned to watch, shocked by what was happening. Jessica stumbled back, stunned. "How dare you hit me?" she shouted. Anita didn't stop. She grabbed Jessica again and pushed her to the ground, giving her a beating she would never forget. Jessica tried to fight back, but Anita was too strong for her. She punched and slapped her, her anger pouring out with every hit. "Don't you ever insult me again, Jessica," Anita shouted. "In your life, never cross my path, or I'll deal with you even worse than this. You foolish, spoilt brat. You think you can bully everyone, but not me. Not anymore." The students around them were shocked, whispering among themselves. They couldn't believe Anita, the quiet girl, was beating Jessica, the queen bee, so mercilessly. When Anita was done, she stood up and said, "Let this be a warning, Jessica. Next time, think twice before you open your mouth to insult someone. You're nothing but a spoiled, foolish girl who thinks the world revolves around her." Jessica, humiliated and bruised, scrambled to her feet and ran away. The students stared as she disappeared, too embarrassed to stay. Anita dusted herself off and walked away, leaving everyone speechless. For the first time, Jessica had been put in her place, and Anita had shown everyone that she wasn't someone to be messed with. Anita got home, angry and confused. She picked up her phone and called Sylvester. The moment he answered, she said, "Sylvester, our friendship is over. How dare you lie to me?" Sylvester was confused and asked, "What are you talking about, Anita?" "What lie?" Anita continued, "Jessica came to me today, insulting me in front of everyone. She said you're her boyfriend, and that I stole you from her. She called me a thief and said you're still dating her. How could you?" Sylvester was shocked. "Jessica." "Wait, Anita, I didn't even know you and Jessica went to the same school. Let me tell you something. Jessica told me she was a graduate and a motivational speaker. I didn't know she was still in school. And for the record, I'm not dating her. We broke up a long time ago. She's just trying to cause trouble. Don't believe anything she says." Anita was still upset. "I don't know who to believe anymore. She came with so much confidence, saying all those things." Sylvester said, "Anita, listen to me. I'm done with Jessica. I don't want anything to do with her. She's a liar. Please don't let her get into your head. She just wants to ruin what we have." Anita sighed and said, "I don't know, Sylvester. I even beat her up today in front of other students because I couldn't take her insults anymore." Sylvester started laughing. "That's my girl. Anita, don't let that foolish girl bother you. You're better than her. I love you, and that's all that matters." But Anita was still angry. "I need time to think. I can't deal with all this drama," she said before hanging up. Just as Anita hung up, Sylvester's phone rang. He checked the caller ID and saw Jessica's name. He rolled his eyes and picked up the call. "Sylvester, please don't hang up," Jessica began. "I'm sorry, I still love you. Let's get back together." Sylvester's tone was cold. "Jessica, how do you still have my number? I thought I blocked you, you spoilt, ungrateful element. I heard someone beat you up today in your school. Weren't you the one who told me you're a graduate? So what are you doing in school, Jessica?" Jessica was embarrassed but tried to defend herself. "So that foolish girl called you already? Sylvester, you want to leave me for that poor thing? That girl is ugly. Can't you see?" Sylvester was furious. "Jessica, you're the foolish one. Don't call Anita poor because she has more class than you'll ever have. You're nothing but a liar. And you let her beat you up. What a wasted human being. A girl like Anita put you in your place, and you're here calling me. You should be ashamed of yourself." Jessica tried to speak, but Sylvester hung up the call. He shook his head in frustration and blocked her number. He had had enough of Jessica's lies and drama. Jessica sat in her room, fuming with anger. She paced back and forth, thinking about everything that had happened. Anita had beaten her up in front of everyone, and Sylvester had insulted her on the phone. Her pride was bruised, and she couldn't let it go. "Anita," Jessica muttered to herself, "that foolish girl, she thinks she can humiliate me and get away with it. I must deal with her. She has no idea who she's messing with. She's not in my class, and I'll make sure she learns her place." Jessica sat down and started plotting in her head. "But first," she said, her voice growing darker, "let me face that useless boy, Sylvester. How dare he insult me and take Anita's side? Does he think he can just walk away from me like I'm nothing? No, by the time I'm done with him, he will regret ever knowing me." She picked up her phone and stared at Sylvester's number, her anger growing stronger with every passing second. "You think you can humiliate me, Sylvester? You think you can replace me with Anita, a girl who rides a bicycle? I'll make you regret it. I'll show you that no one messes with Jessica." Jessica sat back, her mind filled with thoughts of revenge. She didn't care how far she had to go. She was determined to bring both Anita and Sylvester down. Her anger consumed her, and she vowed to herself that she would not rest until she had the last laugh. And so, the story ends here for now. Will Jessica succeed in her plans? Will Anita and Sylvester overcome her schemes? Stay tuned to find out in the concluding part of this thrilling story. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, and turn on your post notifications so you don't miss what happens next. Thank you for following the story, and we'll see you in the next part. Thanks for watching and stay blessed.